Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Ron and John podcast. This is Ron. Just want to say, we've been missing you guys. It's amazing when you think one thing's going to happen and another thing happens instead. Unfortunately, we've been so busy with work. It just seems not, John left the country for a couple days. I don't know if it was because he was a flight risk or something. I have no clue, but he went, I guess somewheres,
Yeah, they wouldn't let me back in.
yeah, I'm surprised that you kind of swam across, thank God.
Yeah.
You're very athletic that way because I could have done it. I would have been just done. I've been like, that's crazy, you know. But we're back, not trying to do, I guess you say so much in one weekend, but we're going to sit here and like I said, we need to start doing every weekend. We haven't been able to, but we're going to try to aim for that from now on. No issues at all. Um, I'm Ron, and
I'm John.
yeah, that's John. Yes.
Yeah. Hope you guys are having a good weekend so far.
So, dude, tell us how was your trip?
Oh, it was amazing. I had actually been to Ireland before, and
Hmm.
this time around, well, I went with my wife for our honeymoon, which was almost 2 years. I mean, it's been almost 2 years since we got married, and we finally got a chance to take our honeymoon.
Okay, so you went to the land of the quilts, right, or
No,
kilts?
that's Scotland.
Well, close enough. You know what I mean? Oh, hold
Same
on.
continent.
You know what? I do believe wasn't there? Didn't they have like they were at odds at one time? The Irish and Scottish.
Probably.
I mean,
All of Europe was at odds with each other.
well, that is true. That's true. So, I mean, I'm on. So, I mean, what'd you do over there? I mean, be honest.
Well, we were able to sleep a little more because the kids were home here.
Nice. That's always a win.
No, but we went to see a lot. I don't know if you've heard of the TV show Vikings.
Yes.
Well, they actually filmed most of that in Ireland, in a place called Glendalough, and we were able to visit that area, and it was beautiful. I
So, what was so beautiful about it?
don't know. The land itself is beautiful. I mean, you don't see the old buildings because that was just sets, but the land, the country's beautiful. There's people know how to drive.
Well, not around here, but yeah.
Right, right. But the thing that caught me off guard was the gas prices.
How so?
It was roughly 1.87 euros per liter. So if you translate that into dollars, that's about $8 a gallon.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, y'all talk about Biden, right?
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no, I mean, I think that's just a government thing, like all the way through. I mean, I noticed the prices went down. I mean, it was what 440 at one point, 450 around here, and now they're not on 330, 320, 319, whatever. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. Gas is, everyone needs it. I do know. I think they said was it 2035, 2030? They want everything electronic. I think it was.
Hmm.
Something like that. I think in the United States, I could be wrong. I know my company is taking a lot of vehicles out that are
Mhm.
gas and starting to replace them with electric. And I'm not a big fan of electric because what happens if the electric goes out? It's not going to be able to charge. So now we're in trouble. So they're becoming more electronic dependent, and I'm not sure if that's a good idea, honestly. Now, granted, it's supposed to be better for the ozone, the climate and stuff like that.
Right.
Which, congratulations, I probably won't see the ozone layer completely gone before, you know, my time passes. But I mean, I guess it's better for our kids and grandkids. I don't know. I really don't. I can't sit here and comment and say, yeah, this is how it is or what. But on social media, you have so many social warriors. It's good, it's bad, whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have a uniform. The social warriors. I wonder if they sit there and they have like a place where they can go online and they can order a warrior uniform for like I guess you say I'm against something or I'm for something.
They do.
They do.
It's called a keyboard with a helmet.
Oh,
Keyboard
okay. Keyboard warrior. They're even better when you're sitting there and you're interacting with them because they will do whatever it takes to win an argument, which is even better.
You know what? I've never actually seen that, but I'm pretty sure someone's gonna make a T-shirt out of that right now.
But yeah, there's a good chance. There's a very you know what? Let's coin it. Let's trademark it and let's go with it because who else is going to do it unless you have like a lot of money involved in everything. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's a good thing. That we're back into place. I appreciate everyone listening, new listeners, listeners that's been listening to us from day one. I do appreciate it. I know John does. I think the biggest thing that I can honestly say is we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on trucking, and we're going to do what we got to do to make this happen. Um, we see a lot of different, I guess you should say, backgrounds
Hmm.
because you got people from the south now,
Yeah.
people from the north, um, people out west, uh, other countries, which is very fruitful to us. Like
Hmm.
because we're speaking to more than just like people around here.
Yeah,
You know,
we're based on the Eastern Shore, but we don't want to just limit ourselves, our listeners, to the Eastern Shore.
yeah, that's the biggest thing because at the end of the day, because if you limit yourself, you don't have many options.
Right.
And granted, we put Real Talk Eastern Shore as what we are, but it don't limit us to a point because somehow, some way, if they visited the Eastern Shore, they still kind of involved. But
Hmm.
we want to try to hit home at the Eastern Shore,
Of course.
what we have to offer, big things. So running into that, that's going to segue into where we want to talk about. So we were talking about going to bars, and we were going to rate bars or whatever and stuff like that. So we're going to push that project to the side now, and we are more aligned to thinking that we are going to start going to different areas, like when they have like events. Um, like today, there's a Firefly music festival right down the road from us.
Hmm.
We talked about going there. Not sure it's going to be the brightest idea. We don't know if we're going to go or not. We haven't decided. But I mean, I think we're going to go more towards like festivals, more things that are happening on the Eastern Shore. There's so much stuff that people don't know about.
Hmm.
There was I think there was what was it was a balloon festival in Cordova. Like I think it was
Oh,
maybe
did
it was
that already happen?
I think it already happened, but there's like thousands of people there.
Oh yeah.
Like at Firefly right now, I think there's like 70,000 people in a field behind Dover Downs, sitting there listening to like the favorite band or whatever. So running into that last night, I'm come home and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna relax. Come open my door. I'm like, that sounds like Weezer, and I'm like, maybe it is, maybe not. Go inside, get myself together, come back outside, and I'm like, man, I know this song. Well, come to think about it, it was Weezer, and they were playing Africa, the song Africa. I don't know if you ever heard it, anybody ever heard it, but
Hmm.
back in the '80s, it was by I think it was Toto was the
Yeah.
group,
Hmm.
and like they remade it. Beautiful song, great song, wonderful song. I can listen to it any day of the week. So like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stay out here, and so I'm listening. Then it stops. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back inside. Kind of just relax and everything. And I was like, might have been like 11:45, maybe. I mean, I heard him play music then. So I come outside, and I could literally hear almost every lyric. And from here to there is every bit of a 10-minute ride. We're gonna say 2.5 miles, maybe
Hmm.
around there, and we could hear every lyric here. I was outside listening to it. I went in my bedroom, could hear it plain as day. I was like, wow, they're rocking it out, which don't bother me. But the worst part is the police department had to put some on Facebook, social media Facebook, to say don't call the cops because people were calling the cops because I guess they were mad it was so loud, which is just oh my god. I don't know what to say. I really don't know. I was just like I sit there and just shook my head. I didn't know the world was that bad that you got to call the cops on. There's a Firefly music festival. It's going to be loud. You're dealing with stuff. Just close your windows, close your blinds, turn on the TV, and you're going to drown 90% of the noise out. If your dog's going crazy, I understand, but I'm pretty sure by now he's heard it for what? What? It started Thursday.
Hmm.
So we're on Saturday now.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he heard it all damn night Thursday night, all Friday night, which is the last night, and all day Friday at least. He's used to it. He ain't going to bark no more. So, I mean, I don't understand, man. I give up on the world sometimes. I really do. Like, I just don't understand it. So, but yeah, I mean, just it is what it is with it. But definitely, that's what we're looking towards, going towards. I think we're going to try to start something like that in the next couple weeks. I would say
Hmm.
we're going to plan ahead. On it might be that were on site, on location, and doing it. I think it's going to be more fun, more enjoyable, more relaxing for us. But at the same time, we're going to
More interactive.
more very interactive because we're going to see people, meet people we don't even know, and we're going to be out and about. So like that's a very good start for where we're going to go from where we were to where we are. At the end of the day, I'm cool with that. I'm 100%. I got to get my feet fixed because it seems like one of my I think it's my left foot. It's all messed up a little bit. So I can't remember because they both hurt. I mean, I'm on my feet so much. So, but yeah, I think that's the way we're going to go. So.
So yeah, this week we actually have another guest. His name is Terry. He is currently a biomed technician on the Eastern Shore. He's done a lot throughout his life, and he he allowed us to let him ask him a few questions about it, and hope you enjoy it. So Terry, why don't we start with something simple? Why don't you tell us where you are from?
Grew up in Baltimore.
So definitely, I mean, knowing where you grew up, I mean, how was it growing up in Baltimore?
In my day and time, it was a nice place to grow up. Yeah, it was. I grew up in a relatively middle class, lower middle class neighborhood. Family around me, very secure kid. Growing up, somewhat sheltered, but it was a nice neighborhood. In my day and time, we went to bed and left the front doors unlocked. So
Yeah, you can't do that now.
no. Can't do that anywhere these days, unfortunately, that I'm familiar with.
So you can say you had a relatively good childhood, nothing too traumatic.
Nothing traumatic. My mom, when I was about 12, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that was a major event in the family, and it changed a few things, but it didn't stop me from going to school, stop my mom from working, but that meant she was home all the time then, and or in therapy or something like that. My dad, he was a hard-working person, so he kept us going. He took everything that needed to be taken care of, never missed a meal. Yeah, got pretty much everything I asked for in the way of toys and everything I needed, so it was a good life. Yeah.
Um, Being a state trooper is something very difficult. Not everyone's goal or dreams in life, but I must ask, what made you want to become a state trooper?
I had been in the military, in the Air Force, and it was an eye opener. It was a new experience, and at almost 20 years old when I went in, and so I did my time in the Air Force, and when I came out, I went to work for Equitable Bank as a carrier, and I was happy. It was a nice job. People treated me really well. It was nice. It was a good time. And so one day I was on my way home, and I from work, and I heard that the Maryland State Police was hiring. And I've always said that I would never be a police officer because I don't like the thought of people shooting at me. It just doesn't appeal to me. But I knew that they had helicopters, and I had my first love is God, and my second love is my wife, and then there's helicopters. And so I thought to myself, I'm gonna look into this just because of these helicopters. And I'm like, whatever it takes to fly one, I want to know. So that's what drew me to them initially. And sure enough, they had medevac. So I thought to myself, I'm going to become a state trooper and I'm going to go into medevac, and that's going to be my career. I'm going to fly helicopters. I never did fly helicopters, but that road to the Maryland State Police laid the foundation for me and opened doors that along the way that allowed me to pursue those careers, yeah, in law enforcement and successively on to where I am today in biomed.
Damn, you have done a lot throughout your adult life. You left law enforcement for a bit, isn't that right? What did you end up doing during that time?
Well, after law enforcement, I went into. Let me back up a little bit. When I joined the state police, I stayed there for about 4 or 5 years, and I was getting burned out just from the type of work that I was doing. And I said, this law enforcement is cool, but Now I've got a foundation in law enforcement, and I know that there are positions out in the world for investigators. So I started looking. I was a state employee already, having been with the state police, and I started looking at the types of jobs that the state, Maryland State, had listed for various types of investigators. And I found out that the MVA had investigators. I never knew that, Motor Vehicle Administration. So I looked into it, contacted the second in command of the investigation division of the Motor Vehicle Administration, and he said, "Put your application in, because you got the foundation that we need," and he hired me. So I worked for MVA as an investigator for a couple of years, and like anybody else, I'm pursuing opportunities and money, and I'm already a state employee, so I know now I've discovered I can move throughout the state system, and into positions where I can still be an investigator and use my skills I've acquired thus far. So from there, I working for MVA. It was a nice job. I enjoyed it. There were perks to it. We, just like with the state police, we got to take our vehicles home. So that was a perk. And again, I'm always trying to move up and move on to something that's going to keep me interested and something I find exciting and something in the way of what I'm already accustomed to, and that is investigations and law enforcement. So I looked into a job one day with the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights as an investigator. So I went there. Again, I contacted the second in command. He invited me in. We sat down. We talked about, the job, the kind of work they do. And they're civil rights investigators. So they investigate discrimination complaints, things like that. So that was beyond my skill set at the time. But it was a nice interview. I mean, it was a nice opportunity to find out what they did. And so I left my name on a card. He said, something comes up, maybe we might get back in touch with you. So I think maybe 2 months went by, and I got a call from somebody at my job at the MVA, because I was being an investigator. we had office duty at times. So someone called there and left a message, and I called them back, and it was the guy who was the second in command at the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. He said, "Look, we got a position available, and we were having spoken to you before." He said, "I mentioned it to my higher ups, and we'd like to have you come back and interview again. This time, an official interview." And I said, "Well, when would you want me to do it?" He said, "Well, do you have time today?" Well, in the capacity in which I worked as an investigator with MVA, I could come and go as I liked. So I was in the office. I got my car and got myself dressed. We were suit and tie anyway, and squeezed on down to a job interview. And they hired me at the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. So I did that as an investigator for a couple of years. And Governor Schaefer back in the day had some political agendas in mind. And so he started laying off state employees. I was one of them on his list of people to lay off, myself and 2 other investigators. We had all been hired at the same time, and we were about to be let go. So one of the investigators, she went on to another job prior to. Another investigator, she eventually left, and I had established some friendships with the public defender's office. And so I went down to the public defender's office, just 2 blocks from where I worked, and talked to an acquaintance of mine. He said, "Well, I just want to investigate his job just to stay employed." He said, "Well, let me get back to you." So I gave him a resume. He took it to the chief attorney that he worked for. And a couple weeks later, he called me back. He said, "Look, Terry, I'd like for you to come in for an interview." He said, "Now, we don't have any investigative positions." I said, "Okay, well, no, I'll do whatever it takes, to stay employed." He said, "Since I've been promoted to chief investigator, my job as supervisor is open. So my people would like to have you come in and interview for the supervisor's position with the public defender's office." And this was intake. So that department determines if a person can qualify for assistance from the public defender's office. And we assign attorneys, take the case file, set the case up, And so we see the police reports and things like that. Well, that's what I've been doing for years. So I fell right into it, and it worked. And so I stayed there a couple of years and got that law enforcement part of me. I'd been full circle almost. So I'd worked for the good guys and the bad guys. And I realized my best contribution to this world would be working for the good guys. And so I went back to the state police.
Okay.
Stayed there, and that's how I fell into, I like crime scene investigation. One day I stopped at Chesapeake College on the Eastern Shore, and the secretary of the Criminal Justice Department, the chairperson of the department was not in, but his secretary was. She said, well, look, he's not in, but you can contact him with this number. I said, okay. And,
So you can get the second in command this time,
no, I went to the head guy this time.
Oh.
So she said, you should bring drop a resume off because he hires police officers to, and I was a state trooper again at that time. So he hires police officers to teach part-time. So I'm thinking, oh, they're not going to hire me. So no big deal. Plus, I told her, I said, ma'am, I pointed to my patch on my sleeve. I said, ma'am, I have a job. Thank you very much. I'm happy. So she loaned me some books on crime scene investigation. And I borrowed them, and I said, I'll bring them back a couple of weeks. I did. Took them back. The chairperson was never available. He was always, his schedule just kept him off doing something else at the times I was there. And so this and I'm returning the books, and the secretary says again, she said, you should leave a resume because he hires cops. I'm like, ma'am. She asked me, I had to stop back a third time, and this time I was looking to meet the chairperson. He was not there again. So she said, so I said to myself, I'm going to go home, pull off a resume, so this woman will never ask me for this again. They're not going to hire me, so I don't care. They'll shut her up. I dropped the resume off one day, and about 2 weeks later, I was sitting around the house off duty, and I got a phone call, and the guy told me his name was George Wilson from Chesapeake College. I was like, okay, what can I do for you? He said, well, you dropped your resume off, yada, 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 and I'd like to ask you if you consider teaching one of two classes. I said, who, me? I said, have you seen my resume? He said, oh, yeah, I've seen your resume. I said, so you think I'm qualified to teach? He said, let's meet. So we did. And they hired me. Taught part-time as an adjunct at Chesapeake College for that first year. And that first semester, that initial semester. And I told him as I was getting to the end of that first semester, I said, look, because I work shift work, I can't continue to teach also, part-time. So he said, well, don't leave yet because we're working on something. So he wouldn't tell me what it was. So he said, stick around one more semester. I said, okay. So my state police supervisors, they had adjusted my schedule so I'd have time to teach and do my job as the trooper. So,
well, that's nice of them.
Very nice of them. Yes, indeed. I gained a lot of respect for them. Now, whenever they needed somebody to do something, they didn't ask. They just put my name down. So, that was the price I had to pay. But I think it was beneficial to them also because they had now a state trooper in uniform teaching at the local college in the criminal justice program. So that was a benefit to them as well. They never said that, but I do it. So anyway, I enjoyed myself. I like teaching, and I like being a trooper. I really enjoyed it. And almost toward the end of that second semester, the president of the college called me at home, and I had never even met the man. And so it was Dr. Bounds, Stuart Bounds. And he said, Terry, we're looking for somebody to run the criminal justice program. I said, well, I know you have somebody running it right now. He said, well, we'd like somebody who can just focus on it. Like he said, the gentleman who was George Wilson, he was an attorney, and he was over 3 different departments as a chairperson. So he said, we'd like somebody who has experience in law enforcement to manage that program and build it up. And so he said, somebody mentioned that you might be interested in submitting your application for review, for your resume. I had to make a decision. I could tell them yes or no. And so I said, okay, kind of reluctantly, but I said, okay, I'll turn it in. I'm thinking, they're not going to hire me. So anyway, went to the interview, and they hired me on the spot. So I had to ask them, why would they hire me? Because I found out 2 attorneys applied for the position as well. And I was not an attorney. I was still working on my college degrees and all that kind of stuff from school. And so when I asked them that question, I said, why would you hire me over the 2 attorneys? And the response from the chairperson who hired me, he said, because neither of those attorneys have ever been a police officer. They could not tell those young people what it is, what it's like to walk up on a car in the middle of the night in the dark. You can. And we've seen what you've been teaching thus far. So that's why we hired you.
Man, that's wild. Being a state trooper, I can only imagine all the tales and stories that you have and things that you see. I mean, would you like to share a few of them with us?
I got a little bit of funny stories and serious stories. But anyway, the funny stories. So one day, this is funny to me. It's still funny. I hope the people who are involved are still laughing. I had gotten off of duty. I was almost home, and I could literally almost see my house from where I was stopped at the stoplight in Baltimore City. And it was a summer day, so my window was down, and there was a lady to my left in her car with a German Shepherd sitting in the front seat. And the dog was sitting there like a person, And I looked over, and I said, excuse me, ma'am. She said, yes, trooper? I said, that dog's supposed to be in a seatbelt? She said, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I said, I can write you a ticket. She said, oh my gosh, nobody ever told me. I said, ma'am, I'm kidding. I'm just joking. And she bust out laughing. I bust out laughing, wished her well, have a nice day, and went on my way. And that's the kind of trooper I was. In my whole career, I've never even been in a fight. The numerous arrests I've made, drug arrests, alcohol abuse, whatever the case might be, people in brawls and fighting. I've never had to fight anybody. Normally I walk up, just like we're conducting business, you and I right now, somebody conducted business on the street. So I knew that this one thing has always stuck with me. From the time I was a young teenager until I left law enforcement entirely. And even today, there's one thing that every single person in the world wants: to be respected. Doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, how bad you are, or how small you are. Everybody wants to feel that they're respected. So even when I had to arrest the bad guys, and some of them were really, really bad guys, I show them respect. I don't cower to them. I don't blink. I don't turn my back on them. I don't trust them, but I respect them. And I let them know that. And I just make it plain and evident. I'm going to show you the utmost respect. I expect the same from you. If you don't want to do things that way, we can always do it a different way. So they have an option. And they've always chosen the option whereby neither of us would get dirty or be inflicting pain upon each other. So it was a good career.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, your wife is also a teacher, right?
No, she is the associate administrator for the dean. So she's like his secretary, so to speak, but she is at a level whereby she makes decisions over, the deans.
I gotta say, I would be really interested to see how do you guys meet?
I was a trooper when I met her. Yeah, I come on duty at about 3:00 in the afternoon, and we had come to the evening hours by now. It was dark, the early evening hours, but it was dark. And I stopped to the outlet stores up around Queenstown, and there was a bank. It was Queenstown Bank there with an ATM. So I stopped there just to put some money in my pocket so I could get dinner while I was out on the road. And my wife had stopped there to use the phone to call home and let her family know she was halfway home. She was continuing on down the road. And so I ran into her there, just standing by while she was using the phone. And it was a dark area, not well lit, I should say. And so I just waited for her to use the phone, and that was it. And she came, of course, thanked me and Now we have a son who's 25 years old. So yeah, it went over well.
Well, that's good.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sure there are plenty of stories, but is there one specific you'd like to share from your time teaching?
Yeah. One of my students in my class when I was teaching criminal justice, he told us when he first started my class, he said he was a racist. He told me. He said, I was a racist. My friends are straight up. Because in my classes, you could say exactly what was on your mind because I said exactly what was on my mind. And because in my classes were people who were either cops already or they were going to go in law enforcement, studying criminal justice. So they were laying a foundation for law enforcement, security, corrections, politics, judiciary. These people could become judges one day. And so I realized all of us have issues, especially in America, with race and biased attitudes and, with so many different groups looking to be recognized and have their rightful place in society. You have to enter this business with an open mind and an open heart for people. So we put things on the table, whatever it is. It was very realistic in my class and very real. So having put that out there in front of my class, this is probably his second semester with me or maybe third semester by then. But he told us one day in class, we were having a heart conversation about race and all this other good stuff. He said, my first day in class with you, Mr. Alston, he said, first thing I said to myself when you walked through the door and they were already sitting in the classroom, he said, damn, I got a black guy for a teacher. He told us that. I didn't know that, but he told us that. And so by this time, he and I had become acquainted, like I had with all my other students. But I was surprised that he actually told us that. And he said, but you know one thing? He said, I have learned more in your class than any of my other classes. And it brought me to tears. Yeah. So he said, but I am not a racist anymore. And to this very day, he and I are friends. He had his baby born here at the hospital since I've been working here. And so we run into each other. We run into each other frequently. Maybe every few months we run into each other on the road, the street, and we stop and chat. And he said, but I am not who I used to be. That's probably one of my best times.
So, what made you leave teaching? Was there a reason, like a big reason, one reason only, or just several? And where did you work next?
I had taught for 17 years, and so therefore in 2014, it was 2013 leading up to 2014, and literally the end of like Christmas break of 2013. So 2014, in January, that would start the next semester. But that 2014, the second day of that year, would be my 30th year in law enforcement. It would have been 30 years, my 30-year anniversary, so to speak, in law enforcement. So I spent literally 13 years in law enforcement and then 17 years teaching law enforcement. So I had 30 years of law enforcement caked up between my ears, spilling out my eyeballs. And so it was time for me to do something different. I discovered along the way that two things makes it possible for me to learn different skills, and do different things in life that I enjoy doing. And so problem solving and critical thinking. So that's what I spent a good portion of my life doing, which doesn't make me smart. It just makes me able to analyze a situation and hopefully find a fix. So I had gotten to the point where I was getting burned out and I knew it. So it was suggested to me by my dean to take sabbatical, just take a break, come back, take a break for 6 months and come back. You'll be refreshed. But my response to her was, you know what? I'm done. I've done what I came here to do. I've trained the next generation of law enforcement people and attorneys and soon to be attorneys and what have you. So I've done my part. I said I need to do something different. I need to get away from law enforcement entirely because I've spent 30 years with this stuff in my head. And it's time to take a break. So I left without a job, not knowing what I was going to do next. And so, I had severance pay and all that kind of stuff because we were under contract. So they gave me my money that I would have earned had I kept on working. And they wished me well. I wished them well. And I still visit just because my wife still works there. So a lot of people there still know me, which is great. And 6 months went by, and I needed to go back to work. So I looked at the hospital and talked to the person who was in charge of security at the time, and because it was an acquaintance of mine, and he suggested, come on, because I had done some teaching for him as well for the security officer at one point here at the hospital, and so he said, well, let's come work with us. And I said, I'll give it a thought. And I did. So I saw the job come up. I applied for it, came in for the interview, and got the job in security. And while in security, I met a couple of guys who were in biomed at different times. And each one said, hey, we need people in biomed. Why don't you, bring put your resume in and talk to our manager? So I did. And before I knew it, I was in biomed. So problem solving and critical thinking. It doesn't matter who you are. If you can do those two things right there, you can learn a skill. Mm-hmm. So I've been fortunate to be in biomed. It is, every job I've ever had has been a great job at the time I was doing it. But biomed, again, allows me to express who I am, who I've always been, from a kid even till now. I can express who I am and my abilities and my skills always being enhanced because I'm learning something new every day. My coworkers I work with, they're skilled people themselves, so I learn from them. Not all of them, but most of them are skilled. So one of them, each one has their own skill set from which, I glean something, or they open some door for me to understand something I didn't understand before. So it's a great team. So I just try to keep us cohesive and, keep us moving forward.
If there was one thing you would like the younger generation to know, what would that be?
Everybody wants this one thing, if nothing else. Everybody would like to be loved, but you're not going to love everybody the same way. But everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to be respected. Wants to be just recognized for being a human being and afforded the same opportunities as the person standing next to them, regardless of what they look like or where they come from. And I think we'll be a bigger, better world if we all would kind of get that thing down packed and, trying to just help each other out.
So, in your words, what are you the most grateful for in this life? Like, what is you feel is the biggest blessings and stuff in life that you've experienced or you have?
One thing that I'm grateful for. There's so many things I'm grateful for, but one thing that I'm absolutely grateful for. Wow. I'm grateful for being brought into the world because nobody else was born in my place but me. So I hit the lottery, and everybody I come in contact with, so did they. Nobody was born in your place, your sisters, your brothers, no one. It was you. And here you are, alive and well.
Anyway, Terry, thank you for your time. We appreciate you answering all our questions. I hope you have a good night.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for being here and giving us the time and effort that we cherish because it's definitely going to be educational for a lot of people. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
What a great interview by Terry. I do appreciate him coming on. It was very refreshing, something different. being, I can't imagine being a state cop like he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a rough job, and especially in this time of age now. Like, I mean, he's not a state cop now, but still in the past, you know.
Hmm.
And it's amazing, like some of the stuff that he went through. You know,
Yeah.
that fun, serious stuff. Funny stuff, stuff like that. It's not everyday life for us, and to see it from that perspective,
Yeah.
it's very very knowledgeable now. Like, you
Yeah.
get a little bit of how that life goes.
Yeah, and he liked to put a positive spin on on practically everything. He liked to just laugh. He
Yeah.
liked to have fun.
Well, some people enjoy laughing, which is a good thing, because if you don't laugh, you're miserable all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't like being miserable. I don't think you like being miserable.
Nope.
I don't think anybody likes being miserable. Just some people are in a funk sometimes, and they
Yeah.
just can't get out of it. But the good thing is, like, there's always help for that. So, but it does cost money. It can be really expensive quickly. That's why, the best thing, to make you happy is what you want in your heart, and hopefully that goes the right way. But as we continue today, it's a beautiful day out here. I did have my fan club, the woodpecker and owl. The owl left for some reason.
Hmm.
I guess he was booing me off. He didn't like me here. He was hooing me.
No, he saw me come over. He's like, he's back.
Yeah,
I'm leaving.
well, the worst part is I haven't heard him since the last time we had a podcast here. So, like, maybe he knew you were coming. He was like, man, I'm going to listen. These guys are boring. Oh my God, why am I here? My wife is calling me. I better go back to my little Allens and try to sit there and make sure they're okay and fed. And then the woodpecker, you heard him here and there like twice. You know what I mean? So I guess he's not happy with us either. So
Nope.
it seems like that's how life goes anyway. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't make everyone happy.
But at least we got someone mowing the lawn.
Yes, I can't see him from here.
No.
Which usually I can see him, but but we have some gunshots in the back.
Oh yeah.
That's what it sounds like. But I'm trying to understand if there's gunshots in the back, which, we have like a golf course back there. Why are they allowed to do that? Which I don't care, honestly. As long as you ain't shooting anybody, I'm fine with that. But, I mean, I didn't know anything about this. I'm not going to be a Karen and go call, the cops. I don't care. As long as you ain't hurting nobody, I don't care what you do.
The gunshots
I mean?
are too loud. You better call the cops.
You better, it's just like the Firefly, they got people calling the cops on them. I mean, come on, man. Get real, There's kids out here, and there's nothing for them to do. Literally. I mean, I don't care what town anymore. Things are closing up. Like, when I was growing up, there was billiards halls. There was one in Lewis. There was one in Seaford. I think there was one in Greenwood back in the day. Dover. Just all over. That's where, under 21 people went, because that's where they can get in. Matter of fact, I remember going into a place called Revelation Rob's in Harrington, and one side was the bar, the other side was the pool hall, and you had to be, you was it 16 or 18 to get in the pool hall, but you couldn't go on the other side. So, like, you had to stay in that pool hall, and if you wanted to drink a soda or something, you had to tell the attendant. They went and got it, and then you paid the attendant. Well, you don't know if they got the money in the rest or not, but that's what you usually did. So that just tells you how old I am. That was back in 93, 94, probably 95, maybe. I can't remember. Honestly, I'm so old I can't remember things half the time. They say the mind's the first to go. I think it's everything else than the mind.
Mhm.
Like, the mind's the last to go.
Yeah.
Like, so, but I could be wrong. But entertaining the facts that our future podcasts are going to be a little bit more structured, of being out and about with the public, not so secluded. I don't feel we're secluded, but I mean, we're pretty much an unknown place here where we're at, and I think we'll be out and about doing a merchandise T-shirts that we'll have, which should be coming in the next week or two, which that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
It's just like anything. You hope for things that's going to happen doesn't mean that, it's going to happen, but we're going to try our best. And like I said, soon the online store, hope we can get that up and running. There's so much stuff that when you work a full-time job, and then you want to do something on the side, just, I mean, just I guess for fun, what we're doing right now, and we don't know where this is going to take us, but you don't really expect how much work it is to do something for fun.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I would have never guessed. I'm like, okay, we get, like, some speakers, we get microphones, we get a computer, stuff like that. And I just don't.
There was a spider on your head.
Oh, man, he was going to lay some eggs. I don't blame him. I was giving some head on him. So, but I mean, stop it. But anyway, you're just so, like, I guess you say, ignorant to the fact, like how much work and money is involved by just something simple as this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, if you got a laptop, you can start a podcast, but it just don't sound right. It just don't mellow. You don't mesh. When we kind of started, we were kind of like a basement bottom. You know what I mean? And I mean, we're still not where we want to be.
Right.
With like the equipment and stuff like that, but oh my god, like it gets expensive quick. So I'm just like, holy shit.
But right now, even having microphones, it makes the sound way better.
Well, it makes me sound sexy. I think I'm I'm a beautiful beast. Yes, I'm telling you,
Definitely.
I had this phone call. I mean, for real, like this phone call from this dude. He said, "You are one sexy beast." I said, "I know I am. Man, I'm just joking, but
no, he's not.
Hey, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'll keep you guessing, at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, which I keep on saying on a consistent basis, which one day I'll have a new phrase in the next 16 years. We do appreciate, you listening to us. We do appreciate and seeing the little marks that we can, guide ourselves on, like, who's listening to us. It doesn't say who you are, but it says, like the roundabout areas, and we're blessed to be able to reach so far. Like, I'm not sure if John was thinking it would reach this far, but for us to even get out of like the tri-state area was impressive. Because I mean, I just didn't see that.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We don't have millions and millions of viewers or listeners, but still at the end of the day, like, I'll take the 70 to 90, 100, whatever we're at now, listeners over, two any day. You know what I mean? And that's the big thing, And, people have been supportive, like I've seen more interaction on Facebook about our podcast, not mine, let me rephrase that. And it's great to know that there's people out there that, I don't see every day, and maybe I don't talk to in like 3 to 4 years, but they're very supportive about what we're doing, because come to realize there's not a lot of podcasters out there that are just like your average Joe, because that's what we are.
Right.
A lot of your podcasters are famous, or they got a media background, or they're a broadcaster, or it has to do with like a form of information about health and stuff like that. Yeah, we talk about mental health, there's no doubt about it, but we're the average Joe. When you go down into the grocery store, we're pushing a cart, having 45 kids running around us, and guess what? We probably walked right by you, didn't even realize, hey, that's Ron. Well, no, you don't know who I am. You might know who I am because the inner workings where we started from. We started plugging on our Facebook pages, but there's people out there who have no clue who we are. And to be honest with you, we're going to make that happen sooner or later. You're going to see a face with, the voice. You're going to be like, man, like, I thought Ron was like 500 pounds, or you'd be like, I thought John was like 8'3". John's only like 2'4", but still, this is all a beginning for us as well. Even though it's been 2 months, what has it been, 2 months now?
About
2 months,
yeah.
So in 2 months, we went from, well, actually, you want to get technical, 2.5 months, it was, oh, we're going to do this, to this is real. Like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
We just got to get, I guess, we have a lot of things going on in life.
Yeah.
And just got to get the schedules right. And it's going to take time, and wait till winter comes. Oh, my God. that one day when it snows and it's like, how are we going to do this now? You know what I mean? But we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? We need to be committed to our loyal listeners, definitely.
Yes, make sure you like and subscribe to all our podcasts wherever they are, wherever you listen to them. And on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give us 5 stars. It's Ron's favorite number, and it'll help him get a computer
Yes, yes. If
So-
I get it,
so we can do this remotely.
you know what? Here's a guideline. This is what I'm going to do. I like to be spontaneous once in a while. I guess you can say I'd be a little aloof, per se. So this is what I'll say. What is our likes on Facebook?
Come on,
Do you want our likes on Facebook? That's
Not
where I want to go. I
currently.
want to start with that first.
Okay, so you're gonna keep talking, or you want
Yeah,
me to
I mean,
pause it?
we're talking anyway. I kind of just was just like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I want to do something special.
We have 141 followers.
Okay, we have a 141. So I'm saying if we hit, what do you think is a good number?
Between now and when?
Before the end of the year.
On Facebook, realistically, let's say 200.
So we hit 200 likes. We will ask everyone of the listening audience, the John and Ron audience, I will do something that everyone will agree with, that is spontaneous, in good taste, but that is outrageous. I will do it. Okay? And we will put it on YouTube, and matter of fact, we will put it on our Facebook page. Pictures or the video of me doing it. Whatever it is, but it's got to be it can't be grotesque.
It's got to be in taste.
It's got to be in taste, I do want to say, since we're in September and it's getting a little bit chillier now, like it's 65 right now, 60 degrees, something like that?
70.
70. Man, I'm getting old then. So I do want to go and do the
Polar bear plunge.
yes. This year I want to do it in both states though. I want to do it in Maryland and Delaware. I want to do it over at Sandy Point, which is where they usually have it, right by the bridge.
Right.
And they usually do it in Rehoboth in Delaware. And I want to say they do it in February. I think Sandy Point does it in January, I do believe.
I'm down.
I'm 100% down. And what I will do, if we do the polar bear plunge, we're going to do the polar bear plunge. But if we get, I would say, I don't know, 250 likes before the polar bear plunge.
Which one?
Both.
Either one? Okay.
Either one. I will wear a specific outfit to go and do that plunge. I will definitely make myself vulnerable in that situation.
I can see where this is going.
Well, I better not go the way I think it will. All I know is, if it's something what I think it's going to go, and it could go, I'm going to buy a lot of socks. Because I can't look like I'm not packing. Like, it's not going to look good. They'll be like, damn, what's he got down there? Nothing. Oh my God, that's not good. So, listen, I'm putting myself out there. Like, literally. Like, we were talking about how John kind of don't put himself out there, at the beginning, the first episode. Like, he's kind of, like, reserved. He's shy. When it comes to things like that, I'm kind of reserved. Like, I don't mind doing crazy stuff. But you know what? I want to make it worth it now. It's got to be. It's got to be worth it. Because I don't know if you knew this. When back in the time when the one guy, Scott, came to the bar, we used to have bets with paper footballs.
Oh, I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I had the motorboat toilet. Not a good day. What else did I do? I did some nasty stuff. I licked someone's shoe. There was, what this guy? Oh, I had to put my face on Russell's ass. Like, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? That makes it worse. On my cheek, though. It was my cheek. It wasn't my whole face, my cheek. My right cheek. There's a picture of that somewhere, I know, because I've seen it. But I don't mind doing crazy stuff, but at the same time, I don't want to make it to the point where it's grotesque. You know what I mean? I do want to have a little fun with it, and I'm more welcome that, So I mean that might give a little bit more momentum for people to say, hey, let's like this Facebook page, or hey, let's go listen to these guys, see if they're really worth listening to. and I like to think we are. I mean, I do appreciate, was it the 5 or 6 people that's put us at 5 stars so far?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that, we're making people happy. Maybe, maybe just doing like, you know what, let me just put 5 stars because we know these guys. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't have no comments underneath it. And we do invite comments, messages, whatever you want to do. We're all 100% for it. But we definitely want some of your feedback. We're trying to get feedback. And we're going to start being more on our Facebook page, I do believe, and push that. We definitely need to, get our website going where we have stuff on there, pictures and comments and whatever. But if there's anything like on the Eastern Shore that anyone knows that, like, it could be, to me, it could be anything. It could be like, open house at a firehouse or, stuff like that. Or, we don't mind traveling to there, even if we're just there like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We can get some feedback, and we'll plug it. We'll put them on the air. The fire departments need that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do believe most of your Eastern Shore fire departments, except for a couple, are not paid, except for the EMTs.
Right.
So I mean, it's kind of good, to get more interaction with the community. People come, they're like, oh, that's cool. I mean, matter of fact, I think that's what's going on back here right now. I think that has to do with the Ridgely Fire Department, but I can't guarantee it because I looked at something that said something about a golf outing. It was like a something. I could be wrong. Matter of fact, I might want to go look before I make any more statements. And they sit there, that's false advertisement. You know what I mean? And then I get hollered at. But I hope somebody from the fire department there would let me know before then. But it is what it is. But definitely, it's been a good time today. I think we've got a lot accomplished. Great times. We had a guest. Great guest. Any last words or anything?
No, that about wraps up our podcast for the day. I just want to thank all our listeners that have taken the time out of their day to listen to the episodes we have so far, and remind them that we are on practically every podcast website or app. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube as well.
Yes. YouTube is
It'll really help us out.
Yes, we try to help as best we possibly can, even if it's just an hour or maybe 40 minutes, just to make you forget anything bad in life.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you realize that that's what we want to do. We want you to laugh and giggle or, be interested or involved. But, at the end of the day, like I always say, it is what it is. If you ain't got haters, you ain't living life right. So,
And
for me and John, go ahead.
Have a good weekend.